A woman who knows her worth rules the world without saying a word. Tell me, do you want to be that woman, or do you want to live in the shadows, waiting for permission to shine? Let's not waste time. Every woman has a queen within her, fierce, graceful, and untouchable. But many have buried her under self-doubt, fear, and society's expectations. Today, we dig her out. It's time to awaken the woman who does not beg for love but commands respect. The one who walks into a room and changes the air. Let's find your inner queen. Rule your mind before you rule the world. A queen is not crowned because of her clothes, her wealth, or the people who surround her. She is crowned because of her mindset, her ability to govern her own thoughts, emotions, and reactions. If your mind is in chaos, your life will be in chaos. If your mind is weak, your presence will be weak. Before you rule anything in this world, you must first rule the kingdom within you. Think about this. Have you ever met a woman who walks into a room and instantly people feel her energy? She doesn't have to say a word, yet her presence commands attention. It's not because she's loud. It's not because she's wearing the most expensive dress in the room. It's because she has mastered herself, her thoughts, her emotions, her reactions. Everything is under her control. That is what makes her powerful. Now let's talk about the opposite. Have you ever seen a woman who is constantly affected by what others say? Someone who gets thrown off balance by a single insult, a bad day, or the opinions of strangers. This woman can never rule the world because she doesn't even rule her own emotions. If your confidence depends on compliments, one insult can destroy you. If your happiness depends on others, you will always be a slave to their moods. That is not a queen. That is a prisoner. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're walking down the street feeling good about yourself. Your hair is perfect, your outfit is on point, and you're feeling confident. Then suddenly someone makes a rude comment about you. Maybe they say you look tired, or that your dress doesn't suit you. In that moment, what happens? Do you shrink? Do you let those words ruin your entire mood? If so, then you are not in control. They are. They hold the remote to your emotions. And a queen never gives that power away. Instead, a woman who rules her mind will hear that comment, smile, and keep walking. Why? Because she knows who she is. She does not let outside noise dictate her inner peace. She does not give random people the power to shake her confidence. She has already decided that she is beautiful and worthy. One opinion does not change that. But this is not just about handling criticism. It's about everything in life. If your mind is trained to see obstacles as problems, you will always be stuck. If your mind is trained to see failure as shame, you will always live in fear. But if your mind is trained to see every challenge as a lesson, every loss as a redirection, and every setback as a setup for something greater, then nothing can break you. Because you are in control. Take the example of a successful woman. Whether she's a leader, an entrepreneur, an artist, or a mother managing her household like a kingdom. Do you think she never faces struggles? Do you think she never has moments of doubt? Of course she does. But what makes her different is that she chooses how to respond. She does not let fear stop her. She does not let negativity enter her palace. She rules her mind with the discipline of a queen. And because of that, she moves through life with strength. Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how some people let small things ruin their entire day? They wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is check their phone. If they see a negative message, their whole mood is destroyed. If someone ignores their text, they feel unworthy. If their post doesn't get enough likes, they start questioning their self-worth. Is this a queen's mindset? No, this is a mindset of weakness. A woman who rules her mind does not wake up and let the world tell her how to feel. She decides it herself. She wakes up and sets her own energy. She does not check her phone first thing in the morning. She checks in with herself. She asks, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to show up? She does not let the internet or strangers or a bad mood from someone else dictate her emotions. She chooses strength, confidence, and clarity. And let's talk about self-doubt. How many times have you wanted to do something great, but held yourself back because of fear? Maybe you wanted to start a business, apply for a dream job, or express your feelings to someone. But the moment you had the idea, your mind started whispering, what if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I'm not good enough? This is the greatest battle of all. Not against the world, but against your own mind. And this is where most women lose, not because they are not capable, but because they let fear win. A queen does not entertain fear. She acknowledges it, but she does not let it stop her. She understands that her mind is her greatest weapon, and if she sharpens it, nothing can defeat her. How do you rule your mind? You train it. You stop feeding it negativity. You stop letting outside opinions define your worth. You practice discipline, not just with your actions, but with your thoughts. You start choosing thoughts that empower you instead of thoughts that weaken you. The day you stop letting your mind control you and start controlling your mind is the day you step into your queen energy. And once you do that, the world will follow. Because a woman who rules her mind does not need to ask for respect, it is given to her. Stop seeking validation. Crown yourself. If you wait for the world to recognize your worth, you will wait forever. If you wait for someone else to put a crown on your head, you will always be beneath them. The moment you stop seeking validation from others and decide to crown yourself is the moment you step into your true power. From the moment we are born, society teaches us to look outside ourselves for approval. As little girls, we are praised when we behave, when we look pretty, when we do things that make others happy. We are conditioned to seek validation like it's oxygen. But here's the truth. Do you need permission to be great? How many times have you posted a picture since you were born worthy? You just forgot. Think about it. How many times have you held yourself back because you were waiting for someone to approve of your choices? How many times have you posted a picture only to feel disappointed if it didn't get enough likes? How many times have you doubted your own abilities just because someone else didn't believe in you? This is what happens when you let the world decide your worth. You become a puppet, controlled by opinions that change like the wind. Let me give you an example. Imagine two women walking into a room. One is waiting for others to notice her beauty, to compliment her, to make her feel important. The other walks in already knowing who she is. She doesn't need anyone to confirm her presence because she carries her own confidence. Who do you think commands more respect? Who do you think people are naturally drawn to? It is always the woman who has already crowned herself. When you seek validation, you give people the power to control you. If they praise you, you feel good. If they criticize you, you feel small. If they ignore you, you feel invisible. But a queen is never invisible. She does not shrink because someone refuses to see her. She stands tall, regardless of who is watching. Let's take another example. Relationships. How many women stay in toxic situations because they crave validation from a man? How many women lower their standards just to feel wanted? If you need someone else to prove your worth, you are setting yourself up for heartbreak. A woman who has crowned herself does not chase love, she attracts it. She does not beg for attention, she commands it simply by being herself. Because she knows deep down that she is already enough. And this applies to every area of life, career, friendships, personal growth. If you wait for the world to tell you that you are ready, you will never take the first step. If you wait for approval, you will remain stuck. The most successful women in the world are not the ones who were handed opportunities. They are the ones who decided they were enough long before anyone else did. Let's talk about another daily life example. Imagine you have a dream. You want to start a business, pursue a passion, or change your life in a big way. The first thing most people do, they ask for opinions. They wait for their family, their friends, or even strangers to say, yes, you should do it. But what happens when they don't? What happens when people project their own fears onto you and say, maybe it's too risky, maybe you're not good enough, maybe you should wait? Do you let those words stop you? If you do, you are handing your power over to people who may not even understand your vision. A woman who has crowned herself does not ask, can I do this? I will do this. She does not seek permission. She creates her own path. And because she moves with that certainty, the world eventually catches up. Look at history. Every powerful woman, every leader, every icon had a moment when she had to stop seeking validation and start believing in herself. Do you think Oprah was handed approval when she started? Do you think Beyoncé waited for someone to tell her she was worthy before she stepped onto the stage? No. They crowned themselves first. And because they did, the world had no choice but to recognize them. So the question is, when will you crown yourself? Will you continue to live for the approval of others, bending and twisting yourself just to be accepted? Or will you rise as you are and own your space? The day you stop waiting for applause is the day you truly start living. The day you stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am more than enough, is the day everything changes. Because a queen does not wait for someone to hand her a throne. She builds her own. And once she does, the world cannot ignore her. Be silent, but not weak. There's a difference between silence and weakness. Many people assume that a silent woman is a powerless woman, that if she does not react loudly, she has nothing to say. But real power does not always come with noise. In fact, the strongest women are often the ones who do not waste their energy proving themselves. They do not react to every insult, every argument, or every attempt to bring them down. They know that silence, when used wisely, is not a sign of submission. It is a sign of control. Think about it. Who holds more power? The woman who screams and reacts to every small thing, or the one who remains composed, observing everything but revealing nothing? The woman who is constantly trying to prove her worth, or the one who lets her actions do the talking? A queen does not argue with fools. She does not explain herself to those who are determined to misunderstand her. She walks away with grace, and that silence speaks louder than words ever could. Let's take a real-life example. Have you ever been in an argument where you later realized it wasn't even worth your energy? Maybe someone insulted you, challenged you, or tried to provoke you, and in the moment you felt the need to defend yourself, to fight back, to prove your point. But what did that accomplish? Did it change their mind? Did it make you feel more powerful? Or did it simply drain you? Now, imagine if you had just smiled and walked away. Imagine if you had let them talk while you remained unbothered. That silence would have unsettled them more than any words could. Because when you are truly strong, you do not need to engage in every battle. You know when to speak and when to remain silent. And that is power. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. There are times when speaking up is necessary, but there are also times when silence protects your energy, your peace, and your dignity. When people try to provoke you, they expect a reaction. When you don't give them what they want, they lose their power. That is why the strongest people are often the quietest in moments of chaos. Look at nature. The ocean does not announce its strength with words. It simply moves, powerful and unstoppable. The lion does not need to roar all the time. Its presence alone is enough to command respect. The same applies to you. Your silence should not be mistaken for weakness, but rather as a sign that you are in control of yourself. In relationships, silence can be more powerful than confrontation. How many times have you argued with someone trying to make them see your worth? How many times have you repeated yourself to someone who refuses to change? If a person does not respect your words, stop giving them more. Let your silence teach them what your voice could not. When a woman stops explaining herself, stops begging, stops chasing, she becomes untouchable. That is the moment people realize they have lost her. And in life, silence can be a weapon, not in the sense of harming others, but in the sense of mastering yourself. The woman who can sit in silence, who can be alone without feeling lonely, who does not need constant validation from others, she is the one who truly holds power. Because she is not desperate for attention, approval, or noise. She is comfortable in her own presence, and that makes her unstoppable. Take another example. Have you ever seen a person who talks too much, making promises they never keep, always trying to impress people with words? And then there is another person who barely speaks, but when they do, everyone listens. The difference is simple. One wastes their energy on words, while the other understands the value of speaking only when necessary. A queen does not waste her breath. She does not explain herself to those who refuse to understand. She does not respond to disrespect with more words. She responds with distance. She does not argue for her worth. She knows it, and that is enough. But silence does not mean allowing people to walk over you. It does not mean accepting disrespect. It simply means choosing when and where to use your energy. It means knowing that you do not have to react to everything. It means understanding that sometimes the best way to prove your strength is by saying nothing at all. When you master the art of silence, you master yourself. You stop reacting emotionally to every situation. You stop letting small things ruin your peace. You stop giving your power away to people who do not deserve it. And in that moment, you become truly powerful. Because the woman who does not need to fight for attention, who does not seek validation, who does not waste words on those who do not listen, she is the one who is truly in control. Be silent, but never weak. Let them wonder what you are thinking. Let them feel your power without you having to prove it. Because the strongest woman is not the one who shouts the loudest. She is the one who moves in silence, but whose presence is felt everywhere. Choose power over approval. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval. They want to be liked, to be accepted, to fit in. They shape themselves to please others, to match expectations, to avoid judgment. But in doing so, they lose themselves. They trade their power for acceptance, their strength for validation. And the truth is, no matter how much approval you seek, it will never be enough, because the world is never fully satisfied. Approval is a temporary illusion. One moment, people will love you, the next they will criticize you. One day they will cheer for you, and the next they will question your every move. If your happiness depends on their opinions, you will always be controlled by them. But power, true power, comes when you no longer need approval, when you decide that your worth is not up for debate, when you stop asking, am I enough, and start declaring, I am more than enough. Think about this. How many times have you hesitated before making a decision because you were afraid of what others would think? How many times have you kept quiet when you wanted to speak up just because you didn't want to upset anyone? How many dreams have you pushed aside because someone told you they weren't realistic? This is what happens when you choose approval over power. You shrink yourself to fit into a world that was never meant to define you. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine a woman who dreams of starting her own business. She has the skills, the passion, the vision. But when she shares her idea with others, she hears doubt. What if you fail? What if it's too risky? Are you sure you're good enough? So she waits. She waits for people to encourage her, to approve of her, to give her the green light, but no one does. And because of that, she never takes the first step. She chooses their approval over her own power, and in doing so, she loses. Now imagine another woman with the same dream, but instead of waiting for approval, she chooses power. She decides that she does not need permission to succeed. She starts her business even when people doubt her. She keeps going even when the path is uncertain. And soon the same people who once questioned her begin to admire her. But by then, it doesn't even matter, because she never needed their validation in the first place. This is the difference between those who lead and those who follow. Those who wait for approval will always stay behind, watching others move forward. But those who choose power will always rise, no matter who doubts them. Look at history. Every strong woman who changed the world had to face opposition. They had to ignore the voices that told them they weren't good enough. They had to choose power over approval again and again. Do you think great leaders, artists, or entrepreneurs waited for permission before they made their mark? No, they decided for themselves that they were worthy, and because of that, the world had no choice but to recognize them. This applies to every aspect of life, your career, your relationships, your self-worth. If you constantly seek approval, you will always be controlled by what others expect of you. But the moment you choose power, you take control of your own life. Take relationships as an example. How many people stay in toxic situations just because they fear judgment? How many women tolerate disrespect because they are afraid of being alone? If you need someone else to approve of your choices, you will always be trapped. But when you choose power, you walk away from anything that does not serve you. You refuse to settle for less than you deserve. You no longer need others to tell you your worth because you already know it. And in friendships too, this applies. A woman who seeks approval will always say yes, even when she wants to say no. She will always adjust herself to fit in, even when it drains her. But a woman who chooses power stands firm. She sets boundaries. She does not stay where she is not respected. She does not lower her standards to be accepted, because she knows that real confidence does not come from being liked by others. It comes from liking yourself. Choosing power does not mean ignoring others completely. It does not mean rejecting all opinions. But it does mean knowing the difference between listening and depending on approval. It means valuing your own voice above the noise of the crowd. It means understanding that not everyone will support you. And that's okay, because their approval is not what makes you powerful. You make yourself powerful. At the end of the day, you have two choices: live for approval or live for yourself. One path will leave you exhausted, constantly seeking acceptance from people who may never truly see you. The other will set you free. The world will always have something to say, but the question is, will you let it define you, or will you rise regardless of who claps for you? Because a woman who chooses power over approval does not need permission to be great. She simply is. Own your presence. Be magnetic. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? Have you ever seen someone enter a space and without saying a single word, all eyes are drawn to them? That is the power of presence. It is not about beauty, wealth, or status. It is about energy. It is about how you carry yourself, how you own the space around you, and how you make people feel in your presence. Magnetic people do not demand attention, they command it. There is a difference. Anyone can be loud, flashy, or dramatic, but true magnetism is silent. It does not beg, it does not chase, it simply exists, and the world cannot help but notice. But here's the truth. Most people do not own their presence. They shrink themselves. They hesitate. They enter a room quietly, hoping not to be seen. They avoid eye contact. They apologize for taking up space. And they dim their own light so others feel comfortable. And then they wonder why no one sees them. You do not become magnetic by blending in. You do not become powerful by making yourself small. If you want to own your presence, you must decide that you deserve to be seen, that you are worthy of attention, that your existence matters, because the world will not acknowledge you until you acknowledge yourself. Think about this. When you walk into a room, do you hesitate? Do you question whether you belong? Do you second guess your worth? If so, people can sense it. Energy speaks louder than words, and the way you feel about yourself is exactly how the world will treat you. Now, imagine another version of yourself. A version that walks into every space with certainty. A version that does not wait for permission to be seen. A version that does not ask for attention but naturally receives it because of the confidence radiating from within. That version of you already exists. You just have to step into it. Look at the people who own their presence. They do not rush. They do not fidget. They take their time. They move with intention. When they speak, they do not compete to be the loudest voice in the room. They know they are worth listening to, and that belief alone makes others lean in. Take a real-life example. Have you ever met someone who seemed effortlessly captivating? Maybe they were not the most traditionally attractive person. Maybe they were not the richest. Maybe they did not have any flashy status symbols. But still, something about them made you remember them. Something about their energy made them impossible to ignore. That is presence. And that is power. This is why some people are unforgettable. It is not their appearance, it is their energy, their self-assurance, their ability to own their space without hesitation. You might think, but I'm not confident. I don't feel magnetic. That's because confidence is not something you are born with, it is something you become. And it starts with small things. It starts with posture. When you walk, do you hold your head high? Do you stand tall or do you shrink into yourself? Your body tells the world how you feel about yourself. Stand like you belong. Walk like you have nothing to prove. It starts with eye contact. People who own their presence do not avoid eye contact. They look at the world with certainty. They do not stare aggressively, but they do not look away in discomfort either. Their gaze is steady, grounded, assured. It starts with stillness. Have you noticed how truly powerful people do not rush their movements? They are deliberate. They do not fidget. They do not constantly check their phones. They do not shrink into the background. They are fully present. And that presence is felt. And most importantly, it starts with belief. If you do not believe you are magnetic, neither will anyone else. If you do not believe you deserve attention, no one will give it to you. The world reflects what you project. But owning your presence is not just about how others see you. It is about how you feel in your own skin. Because when you are at peace with yourself, when you love your own energy, when you are comfortable being exactly who you are, that is when you become truly magnetic. Magnetism is not about trying to impress people. It is not about being loud or forcing yourself to stand out. It is about being so deeply secure in yourself that people cannot help but be drawn to you. A woman who owns her presence does not need to seek validation. She does not try to prove herself. She simply exists in her full power, and the world adjusts to her energy. And that is what makes her unforgettable. Protect your time like a treasure. Time is the most precious thing you own. It is the one resource you can never get back once it is spent. Yet most people treat that time like it's unlimited, wasting it on people, situations, and distractions that add no real value to their lives. They give it away too easily, as if it holds no worth. But here's the truth. Your time is your life. Every moment you waste is a moment you will never get again. If you do not protect your time, you will wake up one day and realize that you have given your best years to things that never truly mattered. Think about it. If someone gave you a treasure chest filled with gold, would you leave it unlocked, allowing anyone to take from it as they please? No. You would guard it, protect it, and ensure it is used wisely. Your time is far more valuable than gold, yet so many people treat it carelessly. They say yes to things they don't want to do. They entertain conversations that drain them. They engage in relationships that do not nourish them. And worst of all, they allow others to dictate how they spend their own life. You must become selective with who and what you give your time to. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every invitation needs to be accepted. Not every demand on your time must be fulfilled. Because every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that actually matters. And if you are not careful, your life will be filled with things that bring you no real joy, no real growth, and no real meaning. Look around. How many people are stuck in jobs they hate because they once said yes to the wrong path? How many people are trapped in toxic relationships because they invested too much time in the wrong person? How many dreams remain unfulfilled because people spent their time on meaningless distractions instead of building something real? This is why you must be ruthless with your time. You must guard it as if it is the most valuable thing you own, because it is. You cannot afford to waste it on things that do not serve your purpose. Think about your daily life. How much of your time is spent doing things that actually move you forward? How much of it is wasted on social media, gossip, meaningless arguments, or trying to please people who will never appreciate you? The problem is not that you do not have time. The problem is that you are giving it away to things that do not matter. Imagine if you treated your time like a currency. Would you spend it on things that give you no return? Would you invest it in people who only drain you? Would you waste it on things that leave you empty? No, you would choose wisely. You would invest it in things that make you grow, in people who uplift you, in experiences that enrich your soul. Let's take a real life example. Imagine a woman who is always available for others. Whenever someone calls, she answers. Whenever someone asks for her time, she gives it, no questions asked. She fills her days with obligations, doing things that other people expect of her, always putting herself last. And at the end of the day, she is exhausted. She has no energy left for herself, for her dreams, for her happiness. She has given away all her time, and in return, she is left with nothing. Now, imagine another woman. She values her time. She knows that every minute she spends is a minute she will never get back. She is intentional about how she spends it. She does not waste time on meaningless conversations. She does not entertain people who bring her down. She does not fill her schedule with things that do not align with her purpose. She knows that her time is her power, and she protects it. Because of this, she is focused, she is fulfilled, she is successful, and most importantly, she is in control of her own life. This is the difference between people who live with purpose and people who drift through life aimlessly. Those who protect their time build something meaningful. Those who waste it spend their whole lives wondering where it all went. You must learn to say no. You must learn to prioritize yourself. You must learn that your time is not for sale to the highest bidder. It is yours, and only you get to decide how it is spent. Do not let guilt, obligation, or fear of disappointing others make you give away what is most precious to you. Because in the end, when your life is over, you will not wish you had spent more time pleasing others. You will not wish you had attended more pointless meetings or spent more hours scrolling through distractions. You will wish you had spent more time living. More time pursuing your dreams, more time with the people you love, more time becoming the person you were meant to be. So protect your time like a treasure, because once it is gone, there is no getting it back. Elevate your standards. Low effort gets no entry. The level at which you set your standards determines the quality of your life. It determines the kind of people you attract, the way you are treated, and the experiences you allow into your world. Yet so many people lower their standards out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being too demanding, or fear of losing opportunities. But here is the truth. When you settle for less than you deserve, you invite disappointment. When you tolerate low effort, you get low results. If you want a high quality life, you must elevate your standards and refuse to accept anything that does not meet them. Most people believe they are stuck in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, or meaningless friendships because they have no choice. But the truth is, they allowed it. They accepted bare minimum effort. They told themselves, at least I have someone. At least I have a job. At least I'm not alone. And just like that, they settled for a life that is less than what they deserve. Think about it. If you walk into a luxury store, do you see prices being lowered just because someone complains? No, the price stays the same. Because the store knows its worth. It does not beg for customers. It does not lower its standards to please people who cannot afford it. Instead, it waits for those who value quality. Now, imagine if you treated yourself the same way. Imagine if you refused to entertain people who only put in the bare minimum. Imagine if you stopped making excuses for those who consistently disappoint you. Imagine if you required effort, respect, and consistency from everyone who enters your life. The problem is that most people want high-value treatment while accepting low-value effort. They say they want loyalty, but they entertain people who lie to them. They say they want success, but they settle for mediocrity. They say they want happiness, but they tolerate situations that drain them. Here's the truth. You teach people how to treat you. If you accept late replies, cancelled plans, half-hearted apologies, and inconsistent effort, you are telling the world that this is enough for you, and the world will give you exactly what you accept. But the moment you raise your standards, everything changes. Look at the most successful, confident people. Do they beg for respect? No. Do they accept low effort from those around them? No, they have high standards. And because of that, they attract high-value people, opportunities, and experiences. Let's take a real-life example. Think of a woman who always lowers her standards to keep people in her life. She makes excuses for those who mistreat her. She keeps forgiving someone who only calls when they need something. She tolerates inconsistency because she fears losing them. Over time, she becomes exhausted. She starts questioning her worth. She wonders why people always take her for granted. But the answer is simple. She allowed it. She set the bar low, and people met her at that level. Now imagine another woman. She knows what she deserves. She does not beg for attention. She does not chase after those who do not prioritize her. She does not accept excuses. She does not give multiple chances to those who show her they do not value her time. Because of this, she attracts people who respect her, people who show up for her, people who value her presence, because they know she is not easily replaceable. This is the power of standards. The higher you set them, the better your life becomes. But you have to be willing to let go of what does not align with them. You have to be willing to walk away from situations that no longer serve you. You have to be okay with standing alone rather than lowering yourself just to fit in. Some might say, but if I raise my standards, won't I lose people? Yes. And that is exactly the point. Not everyone is meant to go with you to the next level. When you elevate your standards, the wrong people will leave and the right people will rise to meet you. And this is not just about relationships. It applies to everything in life. If you want a successful career, you cannot settle for comfort. If you want to be respected, you cannot tolerate disrespect. If you want to feel valued, you cannot keep accepting low effort. So decide today, what will you allow? What will you accept? What is non-negotiable for you? Because the moment you demand better, the moment you stop settling, the moment you raise the price of access to your life, everything will change. Low effort gets no entry. Period. Stay mysterious. Don't reveal everything. In a world where people overshare every detail of their lives, mystery has become a rare and powerful trait. Most people believe that openness builds connection, that sharing everything will make them more likable, more understood. But the truth is, the more you reveal, the less value your words hold. People are drawn to what they do not fully understand, to what remains just out of reach. The moment you give away all of your thoughts, emotions, and plans, you lose something invaluable. Intrigue. Think about the most captivating individuals you've ever met. Were they the ones who talked endlessly about themselves, revealing every secret, every insecurity, every detail of their personal lives? Or were they the ones who spoke with depth, but never with desperation? The ones who left you wondering, wanting to know more? Mystery is a silent power. It keeps people guessing. It makes them pay attention. It creates a presence so strong that even your silence speaks volumes. When you reveal everything too soon, too easily, people stop valuing your words, your emotions, and even your presence. Look at history, at the most influential leaders, the most admired personalities. They never gave away everything at once. They spoke with purpose, never just to fill the silence. They understood that power is not in speaking more, but in speaking with intent. They mastered the art of letting others wonder, of letting curiosity build. Now think about your own life. How often do you tell people exactly what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're planning? How many times have you regretted revealing too much too soon, only to have it used against you? How many times have you spoken out of emotion, only to later wish you had held back? When you are too open, you give people control over your narrative. You let them into your thoughts, your weaknesses, your plans, things they have not earned the right to know. And not everyone deserves that access. Some will use your openness to manipulate you. Some will pretend to understand only to later dismiss you. Some will act interested but only because you have given them too much to consume. But when you stay mysterious, you remain in control. You decide what people know about you. You decide how much of yourself you reveal. You decide what energy you give and to whom. And in doing so, you create a sense of power that does not come from words, but from presence. Think of a book that holds your attention from the very first page. Does it reveal everything in the first chapter? No, it builds tension. It keeps you curious. It gives you just enough to keep turning the pages, but never too much that you lose interest. The same applies to you. When you reveal everything too quickly, people stop being intrigued. They stop listening as closely. They stop feeling the need to figure you out. Because they already have. There is a reason people chase what they cannot fully understand. A secret untold is a secret desired. A person who holds their silence in moments when others would speak is a person who commands respect. When you are not easily accessible, you become valuable. When you do not explain yourself unnecessarily, people take notice. This does not mean you should be cold or distant. It does not mean you should never express yourself. It means you must be intentional with what you share and with whom. Some people deserve your trust. Some people deserve your truth. But not everyone deserves everything. Think of a woman who shares every thought she has. She tells people her dreams, her struggles, her relationships, her emotions, everything without filter. At first, people might listen, but over time, they stop valuing her words. They know she will always share. so they stop paying attention. They stop feeling the weight of her emotions because she has made them too available. Now think of a woman who speaks with purpose. She listens more than she talks. When she speaks, it is meaningful, intentional. She does not overshare. She does not let just anyone into her world. People lean in when she talks because her words carry weight. They do not know everything about her, and that is exactly why they want to know more. This is the power of mystery. It is not about deception. It is about depth. It is about knowing that your thoughts, your emotions, your plans, they are sacred. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Not everyone should know what you are thinking, feeling, or doing next. When you hold back, when you leave people wanting more, you create value. Your presence becomes intentional. Your words become significant. You become someone people respect, someone they cannot easily figure out, someone they remember. So stay mysterious. Do not reveal everything. Let your silence speak louder than unnecessary words. Let your presence command attention without the need for constant explanation. Let people wonder. Because the less they know, the more they will want to understand. And that is a power few truly possess. Embrace. Your feminine and masculine energy inside every human being exists, both feminine and masculine energy. These energies are not about gender. They are about balance, about understanding the forces that shape our actions, emotions, and decisions. To embrace both is to unlock a power that makes you unstoppable. The feminine energy is flow, intuition, creativity, nurture, and deep emotional strength. It is the ability to trust your instincts, to move with grace, to embrace vulnerability without weakness. It is the power of feeling deeply, of connecting to the world in ways that logic alone cannot explain. It is the warmth that soothes, the magnetism that attracts, and the wisdom that understands without needing words. The masculine energy is drive, discipline, logic, structure, and unwavering focus. It is the ability to stand firm, to push forward, to protect what is sacred. It is the fire that fuels ambition, the resilience that refuses to break under pressure, and the determination that turns dreams into reality. It is action, clarity, and the will to make things happen. Most people struggle because they live in imbalance. Some are too consumed by their masculine energy, always pushing, always doing, always striving for control, until they burn out, disconnected from the softer, more intuitive parts of themselves. Others are too consumed by their feminine energy, always flowing, always feeling, always waiting for things to happen, until they become lost, without direction or power. But true strength is in knowing when to be soft and when to be strong, when to flow and when to stand firm, when to nurture and when to lead. Look at the most powerful people in the world, those who command attention, who inspire, who create legacies. They are not just aggressive and dominant. They are not just kind and gentle. They balance both. They know when to listen and when to act. They know when to be open and when to be firm. They know that true power is not in choosing one over the other, but in mastering both. Think of a woman in business. If she only embraces her masculine energy, logic, strategy, aggression, she may achieve success, but at what cost? She might become hardened, disconnected from her emotions, struggling to form meaningful relationships. But if she also embraces her feminine energy, intuition, empathy, creativity, she becomes a force. She leads with both wisdom and power. She understands people, not just numbers. She moves with confidence, but also with heart. Think of a man in relationships. If he only embraces his masculine energy, control, logic, dominance, he may seem strong, but he will lack emotional depth. He will struggle to connect, to express love in a way that builds deep bonds. But if he also embraces his feminine energy, compassion, vulnerability, sensitivity, he becomes truly powerful. He is not just a provider, he is a protector. He is not just a leader, he is a partner. Now think about yourself. Where are you imbalanced? Are you always in your masculine energy, always doing, always pushing, afraid to rest, afraid to feel? Or are you always in your feminine energy, always waiting, always feeling, afraid to take action, afraid to lead? The key is knowing when to shift, when to soften and when to strengthen, when to listen to your intuition and when to use logic, when to receive and when to give, when to surrender and when to fight. Imagine a river. The water is feminine. It flows, it moves with grace, it adapts. But without the structure of the river banks, the masculine, it would be lost, directionless, spilling everywhere. Together they create something powerful. A force that is both fluid and strong, both soft and unstoppable. This is how you should be. If you are too rigid, too structured, too focused on control, you will lose your ability to connect, to feel, to truly experience life. If you are too soft, too passive, too lost in emotions, you will struggle to build, to grow, to create stability. But when you embrace both, you become whole. You become unstoppable. You become magnetic. Look around you. The people who are truly at peace, truly thriving, have mastered this balance. They are not afraid to lead, but they are also not afraid to feel. They are not afraid to fight, but they are also not afraid to love. They are not afraid to stand firm, but they are also not afraid to flow. So ask yourself, where do you need to step up? Where do you need to soften? What parts of yourself have you neglected? Because the moment you embrace both your feminine and masculine energy, the moment you stop rejecting one in favor of the other, is the moment you step into your full power. And when you do, nothing will stand in your way. Never settle. You are a throne, not a seat. You were never meant to be an option. You were never meant to be just a place for someone to rest, to be used when convenient, to be chosen only when there was nothing better around. You are not a seat, cheap, replaceable, overlooked. You are a throne. A throne is where power sits. A throne is where decisions are made. A throne is where respect is commanded, not begged for. But too often, people settle. They shrink themselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for them. They accept less than they deserve because they are afraid that nothing better will come. They let themselves be disrespected, undervalued, and treated like an afterthought. All in the hope that one day, if they are patient enough, things will change. But nothing changes until you decide to change. Think about it. When was the last time you said yes to something that didn't serve you? When was the last time you tolerated half-hearted effort, accepted breadcrumbs of love, allowed someone to drain your energy without giving anything in return? When was the last time you made excuses for people who never made an effort for you? This happens because deep down, many believe they are just lucky to have what they have. That if they demand more, they will lose everything. That if they walk away from the wrong people, no one better will come. But that is a lie. A throne never begs to be sat upon. A throne is chosen, respected, admired. Look around. The most powerful, the most successful, the most magnetic people in this world are those who never settled. They never settled for a love that felt small. They never settled for a career that drained them. They never settled for friendships that felt one-sided. They never settled for anything less than the greatness they knew was within them. And because they refused to settle, they built lives that others only dream of. Imagine a queen sitting on her throne. Does she chase after people begging for their attention? Does she accept disrespect because she's afraid of being alone? No. She sits tall, unwavering, knowing that those who truly recognize her worth will step forward with honor. She does not lower her standards, she raises others to meet them. You must do the same. You must understand that settling is the fastest way to lose yourself. Every time you accept less than what you truly deserve, you send a message to the world that you are okay with being treated that way. Every time you ignore your intuition and allow yourself to be disrespected, you are telling yourself that your own boundaries don't matter. And every time you shrink your light to make others comfortable, you are betraying the powerful, radiant force that you were born to be. Think about the relationships in your life. Are you surrounded by people who uplift you, respect you, challenge you to grow? Or are you holding on to people who bring you down, who take you for granted, who only show up when they need something? If you find yourself constantly having to beg for effort, for honesty, for commitment, then you are not sitting on your throne. You are lowering yourself to a seat meant for just anyone. Think about your career, your dreams. Are you doing what sets your soul on fire? Or have you convinced yourself that this is good enough because you're afraid of taking a risk? Are you staying in a job that drains you because you don't believe you can do better? Are you keeping your dreams small because you don't think you are worthy of something greater? You were not put on this earth to live a life that is just fine. You were meant to create, to inspire, to build something extraordinary. But that only happens when you refuse to settle for mediocrity. You must make a choice. Continue to accept the bare minimum or demand the absolute best for yourself. And demanding more doesn't mean being ungrateful. It doesn't mean being difficult. It means knowing your worth and refusing to let fear make your decisions for you. People who are meant for you will rise to meet your standards. People who are worthy of your time and energy will show up fully. Opportunities that align with your soul will appear the moment you decide to stop accepting less. But first, you must choose yourself. You must recognize that you are not just anyone. You are a force, a presence, a throne. And a throne never lowers itself to accommodate those who cannot rise to meet it. So let today be the day you stop settling. Let today be the day you reclaim your power. Let today be the day you decide once and for all that you will never again accept anything less than what you truly deserve. Because you are not a seat, you are a throne. And it's time you started living like it. The world will try to convince you to take whatever is given, to settle for what is easy, to accept what is good enough. But you were never meant to live an average life. You were never meant to be just another face in the crowd. You are meant to command the room, not just exist in it. You are meant to walk with purpose, not with hesitation. You are meant to demand the best, not beg for scraps. Stop asking for permission to be great. The people who achieve the extraordinary, the ones who build empires, the ones who inspire generations, they never waited for approval. They never looked around to see if others were comfortable with their rise. They stood up, took their place, and refused to apologize for their power. Look at the world's most legendary figures. Did they settle? Did they dim their light because others were uncomfortable? No, they embraced their strength, walked in confidence, and shaped history. And the truth is, they were no different from you. Except they made a choice to be unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable. And now it's your turn. If you keep accepting less than you deserve, life will keep handing you mediocrity. But the day you decide that you are worthy of more is the day everything changes. The moment you stop tolerating bare minimum effort, the moment you refuse to be treated like an afterthought, the moment you elevate your standards, that is the moment the world will start treating you the way you were always meant to be treated. Because here's the truth, people will only value you as much as you value yourself. If you present yourself as an option, you will be treated like one. If you act like a throne, people will step forward with respect, with admiration, with reverence. This is the difference between those who command their destiny and those who merely exist in it. It is not arrogance to expect more. It is not selfish to demand respect. It is not too much to know your worth and refuse to lower it for anyone. The greatest mistake you will ever make is shrinking yourself for the comfort of others. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. So from this moment forward, choose differently. Choose to walk away from what no longer serves you. Choose to speak with power and act with purpose. Choose to stand so firm in your worth that the world has no choice but to recognize your greatness. And remember, a throne never chases. A throne never begs. A throne never settles. You are not a seat. You are a throne. Now sit like one.